Good to have you. A United States company, Quorum Aviation Ltd, have signed an agreement to invest $2 billion in the Nigerian aviation industry in the next 5 years. Managing Director, Quorum Aviation, Abiola Lawal, at the signing ceremony said the investment would enable the two organizations to invest in aviation infrastructure, training, school, and acquisition of new aircraft, among others. Now, the strategic partnership and cooperation wants to drive investment and capacity building in the Nigerian aviation industry. Under the partnership, 328 support would supply aircraft for the Quorum's Abuja-Kaduna Air Shuttle Service project, which was in partnership with the Kaduna State government. And joining me in the studio to discuss this development is Managing Director, Aglow Aviation Support Services, Tayo Ojuri. Tayo, it's good to have you with us.
It's always a pleasure. Good morning.
Good morning. So, an investment proposal worth $2 billion in Nigerian aviation. How significant in the next 5 years, you think?
Very significant, and actually it's in the right direction. I see that strategic partnership more as driving what I call the secondary airports, because it's leveraging on a partnership, an agreement that Quorum has existed with Kaduna State governor, or government rather. With that, they're able to actually drive the Kaduna Abuja traffic, which has been challenged due to security issues.
True.
And with that domestic traffic, be able to build on secondary airports like Kano. Kano is international, like Benue, KB, Katsina, Asaba, which is growing by the day, and you're actually able to build those traffic. This is actually going to, as he rightly said, help with the development of infrastructure. It would help the development of jobs, direct, indirect, and catalytic impact on the economy.
Very good. Now, the partnership involves more of a domestic shuttle service, as you alluded to earlier. So how can the scope be widened on a more broader scope, perhaps more international?
Well, I believe it's better to start with baby steps.
Indeed.
It's better we actually have a challenge here whereby the other multimodal modes of transportation are not optimized yet. The rail is still having lots of challenges. The roads are not very seamless, are not optimal at the moment. So what we have, and the waterways are not being used to the optimal state at the moment. So what we should look at is, aviation is still the fastest way and safest way of form of flying movement. So what we should see is optimize the domestic transportation system. Whereby what we see is the growth in middle class, the young people growing. They need to move goods and services, agriculture. They move to move people from some states to the other. So with that, we're able to actually leverage on domestic growth. And once that domestic growth is actually optimized to a certain limit, what we would see, exponential growth would happen, and what would say we would automatically gravitate towards international partnerships. With that international partnerships, we will see the leverage for the domestic airlines, such as Quorum, to grow. We will be able to feed international airlines, and actually not only feed, you actually have a sustainable growth, because we have influx of cheap or sustained subsidized investment, as well as technical partnership. So in essence, I see that domestic growth being optimized first, then international partnership, which would help us grow further.
Interesting, very interesting there. So how do we attract more such partnerships, despite current challenges in the aviation sector? What is Nigeria's unique selling point here?
The two sides of that question. Well, how do we actually ensure that we grow that this kind of partnership? Is the fact that thorough policy framework. So with the policy framework, we're able to ensure that there's no somersault. Investors are very cognizant of this issue. The other part is, how do we actually ensure, what is our selling point? The selling point, obviously, is the population. We cannot go wrong with our population. The attitude of the can-do spirit of the Nigerians. We never give up. over and beyond that, we have a very good location, which actually from north to south, east to west, we have lots of mineral resources and human capacity. So those are the selling points that would actually ensure the growth within the aviation sector.
Indeed. And how should government, in its own wisdom, also encourage proactiveness in creating that enabling environment? So we're talking about increasing in taxes every now and then. You also have aviation fuel issues as well, and you know, tariffs here and there. So with all this gamut of challenges here and there, so what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, obviously the policy leads the foundation. Infrastructure is key. For you to actually fly, you need absolute great top-of-line infrastructure, from the airport to the navigational system, which is still owned, operated, and managed by the government. And over and beyond that, you actually ensure that there's a consistency. The tax regime. It's part of the policy. We had the Honorable Minister of Aviation way back a few years ago actually had a sign-off on a VAT exemption for the aviation industry, but that's not been it was just on paper, and that's not been implemented yet.
And those are things people are watching.
Yes,
you know, prospective investors
as well. A1, which is aviation fuel, which is actually 40% of the operational, which is it's liberalized at the moment. With that liberalization, it actually may increase the cost of operations. This actually, I'm not saying fix that, but what we can actually ensure is that with consistency and you be able to hedge your operational cost, it actually gives sustainability to the airline and ensure that the airlines, domestic airlines, grow, and they're able to actually go over what we call the 10-year jinx.
All right, very good. Now, which core segment of Nigeria's aviation sector would you consider merits utmost attention currently, and why?
Well, it's just like the body. Every part of the sector is important, from the MRO, which is the maintenance, repair, and overhaul, to the ground handling services, the airline, the ticketing, the downstream. Every part is intertwined. And it's just the whole ecosystem needs to have the pure and thorough regulatory framework, so that the economic framework for the viability of the airline, from the policies perspective, from the taxes perspective, then obviously for security infrastructure, like I mentioned, all this actually helps us to make sure that the whole cycle within the system is the wheel is well oiled, because you cannot take one out and say one is over the other. Human capacity development, for example, if you ensure that human capacity development is not optimized, it would actually affect safety. Safety is very bad for aviation. It doesn't go well.
It's interesting you should mention safety. Not too long ago, we discussed about the issue of international certification regarding safety. So are we making progress here?
Yes, we are. We've seen few airlines renewing what you call the IATA-IOSA certification, which actually it's a safety process which actually helps the airline build a safety awareness, safety culture within their system. With the safety culture within the system, it actually ensures the safety management systems, enhancements of the safety procedures. It actually, with the procedure, a culture, it helps that things are done the right way, and it limits the issue of incidents and accidents. And when the incidents and accidents happen, is actually reviewing that process. Without reviewing that process, we ensure that this doesn't happen again. And over and beyond that, we have a very vibrant accident investigation bureau now. With that, them reviewing the system, they're able to cut things in before it actually becomes more of accidents than what we have incidents over the years.
But would you say to a large extent that the accident level itself has reduced somewhat?
Yes, we have seen a reduction in the aviation hull within the sector. We've had lots of incidents, but the accident rate has actually decreased in the last 2-3 years, which has been good for insurance. But obviously, we're not resting on our oars. It's just being sure, okay, accident doesn't just happen all of a sudden.
True.
It's a gamut of lots of factors that leads to accident, both internal and external factors.
Yeah.
So it's to ensure that those accidents, those factors are nipped in the bud before it escalates to be the full-blown accidents.
Indeed. Still going back to that Quorum Aviation partnership, when we look at such, collaborations, as it were, who profits the most? Is it those putting in the funds and, of course, the infrastructure, the manpower, the personnel as well, or the Nigerian authorities, as it were?
It's in business world is a two-way split. I would say it's both ways. Obviously, they've done a very good business case, to the best of my knowledge, for them to actually sign that investment and to they see the growth portion. IATA had said IATA, ICAO, Boeing had seen at about 334 million passenger traffic will grow between now and 2037. With that growth pattern and the growth within Nigeria, you see that the Quorum is going to actually grow. If they follow the agreement.
A caveat.
Yes. As well as the investor.
All right.
Obviously, it's actually the enduring environment. Like any investment, there'll be challenges, but it's being able to be dynamic and actually ensure best international practice.
Indeed. And on that note, Ojuri, Managing Director, Aglow Aviation Support Services, always a pleasure having you.
Same here.